And that's us. That is us. Hey guys, welcome to the BA show. It's Monday, the 11th of December. It's the second last BA show for 2023. Pommy, good evening, my friend.
Evening, how are we doing?
We do well. It's the lead up to the big open training session on Saturday. A lot of hype about this tonight.
Hey, any chance to see the boys in a training aesthetic is something to be excited about. I mean, especially this is the toughest part of the year, isn't it, for football? Without getting philosophical, because it's probably the furthest point away, isn't it? Like it feels miles away, but once we return after Crimbo, it kind of ramps up, and before you know it, it's ball bounce time.
You're right. We are the furthest point away from the season, and definitely you got to get. I feel like you got to get through the Christmas break to really feel it, and then it starts really, really just full steam ahead. Like once you're back mid-January and they're back training, but there's also a really important, 3-week period coming up, which we'll talk about. Which I don't know if we mentioned it on the show last week, but as minute as it might seem, and as ambitious as this comment might be, I really do believe that the premiership will be won or lost in the 3-week break. It's the only chance you really get to get ahead on anyone else.
Yeah, without sounding morbid, it's your last chance to fuck up, isn't it?
Yeah.
To be honest, do you know what I mean? Like, we all know what it's like. Do you know what I mean? Like, we know we're 17th, we're 11th for the 12th. So what? We've got probably another 20 days before we start seeing them worst posts in the world. New year, new me. Good riddance 2023. If you are watching this, please refrain from doing that if you are on my Facebook. But we all know what it's like, isn't it? We try and stick to a diet. We drink too much. Life's a bit easy. You take your eye off the ball over Christmas. I know I do, because I'm a nuffy for Christmas. So, yeah, this is everything they put in place in these next couple of weeks ultimately will pay them back round 23 in a prelim. Do you know what I mean? They'll remember it.
Yeah. The margins they're already fine, the margins. The margins are so thin, even from 9th to finals. But as you get to that pointy end of the season, I really do believe every little session counts over the break. And yeah, I'm kind of nervous about it. Not going to lie. Just going to be honest. Kind of nervous about it.
As long as I see no Reddit posts that the boys are in Rebs Boxing Day.
Yeah, we don't need any of that.
We'll be fine. Hey, happy days, flaggers.
Happy days. Well, Lou is here. Malcolm is here. Sayers is here. Saw Sayers on Saturday.
She did. She got herself down there.
Got herself down there. It was great to put a face to the account. Sayers 1864. What a pleasure. We might touch on, hey, Julie. Rob was also there on Saturday. Let's touch on Saturday. The Christmas party was low key. I'll be honest. When the rain came in the morning, I thought, well, there's going to be about 15 or 20 that, you get up out of bed, you see it's raining, you don't bother. Mate, people everywhere. It was really nice.
Mate, rain doesn't put people off getting pissed. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Otherwise, bars would close in the UK after August.
That's true. No, it was good. It's good to catch up. There are some people that I had not met, but I had spoken to. I also realized it reaffirms. It's actually quite weird. Do you ever meet someone and they'll tell you their name and you know that they know who you are, but you don't know who they are by name, but then they'll tell you their username on YouTube or their Instagram username. I'm like, oh yeah, no, 100%. I feel like I know people more by their usernames than their real names. It's quite unique.
Yeah, I was saying to Saz when I was talking to her before Saturday, I've got like a guilty game. Like it's a perversion where you see a name that doesn't have a face, so you try and create a human being based on your engagement on here. And I'd say I'm about 95% accurate. in my thing. But just every so often, someone blags your head. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like what you perceived isn't. So, yeah, I mean, we've got the easy job. You see us, you know what we're like.
Yeah,
Pretty
that's
much
true.
what we see is what you get. So it's always good. It's always good. You feel a bit closer to someone you've touched and felt in real life.
Well, this is an example. Frankie says Sacks. I've spoken to Frankie via email. I've spoken to Frankie in text on the channel, whatever. We had a chat for a little bit, and it wasn't until a little later in the proceedings that he said, like, I figured out the username. I'm like, oh my God. And the whole dynamic of my mind just expanded of who this person was. But it's great.
It's good fun. It's a good game. Good game.
Yes. So good evening to all of you here. Got a bit to get through. We just had the Sam Walsh preview for season 2024. We're going to go and recap the previews that have been on the channel over the last week, show some highlights. We're going to go over the press conference today, bit of news that was announced today with a new major sponsor. Also going to remind you all about the giveaway for next week. So this time next week, 7:30 p.m. We're spinning the wheel, mate. We're spinning the wheel and calling phone numbers again. This time there's no stipulation with age.
Jesus, that was a trial and tribulation, wasn't it? Fucking it better be easy this year, I tell you.
You know, that ended up being, we had a great year in the end. That was one of the best streams of the year. What was your favorite stream of the year?
That was probably my favorite. That would be up there with quality pants.
Just watching me wriggle my way out of it.
Because that was just a calamity of errors that turned into a good thing. Probably the Melbourne final was up there. That was quality. That was pretty good, to be honest. To be fair, they're all, without sounding cliche and politician-y, they're all pretty good. They all have a good place. Even the bad ones have a good place in my heart.
Yeah, I know, but there's certain streams where they just hit the soul a little different. Like I think last year, the Cripps Tribunal stream, it's 4 hours and 45 minutes. Like it was, I'll never forget it. Actually came up in my memory today. I'll never forget it. But yeah, I mean, and also we've done so many of them that it's very easy to forget them now once we do them. It's like clockwork.
My favorite ones are these ones where we actually have not got an hour's worth of content.
Yeah.
And we make it an hour. These are my favorite ones. The ones where there's shit all preparation and we are winging it on good looks and charm. They're my favorites.
Yeah. Robbie sends a super sticker with a $15 donation attached. Thank you, my friend. Johnny, good to see you. Glad you're enjoying the previews. Tommy, yeah, you'll have to make an appearance. What we are going to do, I'll tell you all now. There will be like a proper season launch ticketed event that we'll do. That was kind of what I was picturing for the end of year party. But then like dates for venues, it just became a little too much. And I started getting the sook, to be honest. I was getting a little bit lazy. So I just wanted something very low key. But the season launch will be massive. So definitely want to see a few more of you there. There will be a lot more of you around for the season launch, no doubt about that. All right, let's get started. We had a bit that happened today. Pom, new sponsor, Ampol. 3 years. Can you believe it?
Hopefully they can invest in better toilets. But yeah, I mean, it's always good, isn't it? We get a new one. A gas juggernaut distributor. Hey, so that'll be interesting, won't it? Hey, their logo's quite pretty. So it'd be interesting to see what that looks like on a Guernsey.
Yeah. Well, I spoke about it today. We did a watch along almost with the press conference, and then Paul Sebastiani came. So it looks like we're going to lose Tripadil off the Guernsey at the top, and they're going to have Ampol at the top, which, okay, whatever. And it kind of got me thinking, what's your take on sponsors at the top of Guernseys as opposed to names of players?
100% should be names.
Given that we've breached the whole back of the Guernsey now and it's just accepted that we're going to put sponsors there. Yeah.
I like it. I like the name on there. But that's because I come from a football heritage, and it's been that way since I was a wee bairn. I'm old enough to see it change to names.
Right.
I just think there's something very romantic as a kid, more as the child palm of number 8 Fogarty. It kind of like encompasses it, and then that way that number isn't one person's number, it's someone else's, and they make it their own. I feel like it helps you step out of the shadow a little bit as well. But they've got to make money, haven't they? I mean, as long as it's not looking like a scrapbook, I'm not so bothered. But I think livery space, it's much needed revenue, isn't it? And ample.
Yeah.
One of them,
I mean, it's
logos, like I haven't got a clue what they do.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a 3-year deal. I think part of why I prefer a player's name as opposed to a sponsor is pretty much because of this reason. So we've had Tripper deal for how long? Was it a year? 2 years? Wasn't long, was it?
It's only a while, and I'd have to go into my wardrobe because I buy
Yeah.
a Guernsey every year, so I'll be able to tell you. But
yeah, so like, I mean, Hyundai, for example, love it. Like, wouldn't have it any other way because they've stuck around. The relationship's been there for decades. I just feel like it takes a bit of weight off when you have a sponsor that's just there for a short amount of time. You know, that's, I don't know. And I hope that if Ampol's going to be around, I hope it's a long-term, partnership, because that way they can actually become a part of the success, not just, jump on the bandwagon. I don't know. Ampol.
Nice,
with $100. He's excited about 24. So are we. Yeah, so are we. It's well, I'm going to play a little clip now of Patrick Cripps during the presser today, and you might recognize the person asking him the question with the voice. Have a look at what Cripper had to say to Paul Sebastiani.
What's the competitive advantage for your fellas on the field this season compared to the rest of the competition?
It's hard to compare against other teams because you don't actually know what they're doing. But I think that stability piece and guys, guys. I feel like this off season we didn't have many surgeries, which is always a big bonus going into a pre-season. And I think that our next stage is just keeping that connection at the forefront. We feel like we train at a really high level. Got a lot of trust and high performance and coaching staff. Put a game plan that we feel like maximises our strength, but I think that connection off field and doing as much things we can together and really enjoying our footy and just enjoying being around the environment as well as with our families is really important. I think sometimes the higher you go in sport, you can really lose sight of the fact what sport and footy is all about because it gets so full on, everything gets scrutinised. But we talk about a lot about when we were kids, we love that community feel, whether it's country footy club or a community feel. So although we're at a really high level now, we're trying to create that here and make sure people belong and really love their time here.
I noticed something on your Instagram story as well, the book about not caring about what other people think. What does that mean to you?
No, it's Michael Gervais. He's got a podcast called Finding Mastery. I was lucky enough when I was in America last year to get 2 hours of his time, which I was pretty pumped about because he's a podcast I listen to a fair bit. But he just wrote a book, and I think that it said the first rule of mastery, but I think it's really important that it's really important. I think we experienced that last year through the middle part, but it's about controllables, and if you put your time and energy into things in your control and have trust and listen to the people around you, then the sort of external doesn't really come into it. It's a lot easier said than done, but the more you go through times like that, the more you get better at really knowing what's important. And I'm going to start it tonight, so maybe in a week or two I can give you a real debrief of the whole book.
Where can Jack Silvani fit into that?
His talking has come a long way. His public speaking, a long, long way.
Starting to look like a man. Still a few ums in that. I wish he'd change his connecting words a little bit. But that being said, I think his body language, I think the two big takeouts for me when I watched it were his body language is totally different. He seems really concise and confident in what he's about to deliver. And that really excites me. Usually, if you go back 2 years ago and he was asked about the future, it felt like he was reading a script. It felt like he was a telemarketer. And someone said, say this and everyone will believe it. You saw the difference when he's talking about the podcast, but then talking about the preparation. It was almost the same delivery. It was something he was passionate about and he was invested in, and he kind of went into autopilot. And that really excites me because, dare I say it, turning into a little bit like Mark Murphy, who I feel like Mark Murphy, when he used to speak, there was intelligence there. There was massive intelligence and emotional IQ. And I feel like Cripps has really matured in the last 2 years to be a real leader of men. Like, you feel like now he believes who he is and what he's about. And that excites me because that can only make the club better, having a strong, charismatic leader. And I agree with you. It's a filler word. It's getting a lot better. I mean, obviously it's on the spot. And for someone that has had a very open issue with speaking, which he's talked about at length, to where he is now, it's night and day. What a human being.
Well, I mean, I've watched him from the very beginning of his career, and I still remember his first few times on camera. I still remember him doing that segment with Chris Judd on the Footy Show with Shane Crawford, the old man, and they pranked him, and he was just so raw. I still remember his first few press conferences. I remember his first press conference when he was appointed co-captain with Doc. And so it comes to me a lot quicker. And you said autopilot there. Couldn't agree more. He's not like trying to figure out which button to push for the response to the question. He just kind of knows. So, yeah, bit of maturity. We're growing along with them. It's a very unique relationship to have with these players who most, if not all of us, have no idea who they are as proper human beings. But we have watched them grow. We've watched thousands of hours of footage of them, I would say.
Probably too much.
Probably too much.
If we're honest. But no, fair. I mean, spot on. I think you've got to look as well. When Cripps came into this club, no disrespect to the team, there wasn't a leader's arsehole really in there. These guys have had to learn everything. The best way, in my opinion, is through experience and screwing up. I think that they're the kind of life lessons that stay with you till you die. I think when anything's mechanically learned, it's quite easy to forget about it. And just the way he stands, the confidence, he feels at ease. And that's the big thing with Cripps. 2 years ago, I always felt like rabbit in the headlights. He didn't want to be there. Now he commands that. I've noticed with Cripps since the bye last year, a little bit of banter as well with the press. It's almost like now he's making the press dance to his tune. He ain't a puppet. And that shows strong leadership. He carries that press conference. So fair play to him. And what a remarkable young man. And thank God he's ours.
Thank God he's ours. It made me think about the stages of a career. I don't know. I've probably got to sit down and map this out properly, but I feel like they spend their first, maybe third, if not half of their career, trying to prove themselves to two stakeholders. Number one, themselves, and number two, the football world, which encapsulates the media, the coaches, and their teammates. And then I think once that's definitely done, that's when they ease up a bit. And I think Cripps, I don't know if it was the Brownlow year. I'm not sure. Maybe it was a little bit earlier. He's a little bit different because he was really good from quite early in his career. But there's a point in their careers where it's no longer about proving themselves to the footy world that they're going to be a regular contributor, and then they can sort of relax a bit. And that's the comfort I'm seeing from him and from some others, I think, as well. Yeah,
I think you're starting to see anyone gets chance. William Shakespeare wrote a bard called All the World's a Stage. Fantastic bit of literature for you literature nerds. But there's a stage there where I think you always look at the boys, and they are the whining schoolboy stage, as William Shakespeare puts it, shining in morning face, creeping like a snail, sighing about the furnace, not wanting to go to school, and being a larrikin. But he's now at the soldier stage, full of strengths, oaths, bearded like the pard, jealous in honour, sudden and quick in quarrel, but seeking the bubble's reputation even in a cannon's mouth as it goes. And that's where he is now, the leader of men. He's no longer scared and reluctant to do what he's got to do. He knows he's got a job to do, and hopefully he reaches the old man stage where he's a little bit chubby, full of wise words, and can pass that on to the next soldiers when his time has come.
Yep. So that was that. The next thing I wanted to chat about was Andrew Russell and the fitness regime in general. It hasn't really been a topic of conversation as much as what it used to be. And I noticed when I was thinking about it, do you believe that the noise that was made about the fitness staff and I guess against Andrew Russell, like has he been given enough praise balanced with how much criticism he was given with? And I guess it lends me to the next question. How much of it is it actually the fitness coaches and how much of it is the actual players that they're dealing with?
I think I've said this for years about Russell. It's always the same people that are injured. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, we've all got that mate who's had 5 partners who are exactly the same. And they're always, when one comes to an end, on your couch, having a suck, going, why can't I find a good girl or a good guy? And you're sat there going, you ever thought of stop dating the same person? You don't blame the people he's attracted to, you blame him. In that scenario, I feel like Russell has been unlucky that the guys that are injured probably could get injured in a polystyrene bag. Do you know what I mean? So, but I do think there's great success stories, isn't there? So I think it's one of them things, isn't it? It's tough. Do you know what I mean? I think it's a two-way street. But like when Marchbank gets injured all the time, Cunningham gets injured, they also forget that once they've come out the other end, they've been very serviceable. Charlie Curnow, people forget 2 years ago, there were reports where this was make or break. The management of that was pretty good. And there's also been reports that when Russell came in, that these boys were 2 years behind other AFL clubs. So
that was
it's a tough thing.
That was kind of what I was getting at. I was at the club on Friday, sitting at the cafe, waiting to meet up with Jordan Russell for our interview, which you'll see after this at 8 o'clock. And looking in the gym, the guys are in the gym, and I'm looking at the definition in the arms, like a lot of really, really lean arms and muscle fibers, and in guys that don't usually have such muscle fibers. And it just gets me wondering, like, if you look back now, 2018, 2019, that group was not fit enough. So maybe one day, maybe once Russell's finished at the club and he's doing some sort of book or an interview on Fox Footy or of some sorts, I would love to know what the balance of the group and the program actually was. I know that we did change Russell's role to a degree where he was doing, what was he doing? Like leadership, high performance and fitness. And now we've kind of like streamlined that a little bit more. So I'm always really curious around the balance of that.
I mean, people forget Hawthorn, where he came from. They used to run teams into the ground at times. Yeah. Like you go back and watch, particularly their last couple of flags, people had caught them up skill level wise, but the big thing was they could run you out. Like you could beat them for 70 minutes. It was that 70 to 80, 90 minutes. That was the tough bit. Case in point, us versus them in Tasmania. We were the better side for 90% of that game, but then the legs started to show. And once they got a whiff, they were good. And Luca nails it. I mean, look at Jack. I hate doing this, and I don't want to be that guy. I hate it.
Be the guy.
I'm going to be that guy. Jack Carroll, Jesus Christ, his biceps look like they could crack walnuts. Like, I mean, what a human being. Do you know what I mean? What a human being. So let's hope looking good in a slow motion, sepia-toned picture translates on the field. Obviously, that's more important than looking good.
feel like before the year's out, let's take a moment to give Andrew Russell some kudos, just some praise. Because you're right. I mean, the names you mentioned earlier, Marchbank, Cunningham, McGovern, Charlie Curnow. Let's just take those 5. Jack Martin. Those 5 names in particular, for the last 3 to 4 years, the idea of all of them playing has been blasphemous at times. So, long may it continue.
Mate, to my knowledge, there's only been one person on the planet who could touch you and heal you, and that was Jesus. And unfortunately, Andrew Russell ain't that bloke. Do you know what I mean? Right? Unless there's something Russell's not telling me. So some people are just seriously injured. I mean, I think if you actually look back at it, the success and the body mass indicators of some players and what Russell's done probably is about 50-50. As Brian says, there was an inquiry, and I do think that the results, like Terry touched on, were that he would focus primary on fitness. Maybe he didn't have as much pull as that. There was also that constant noise. I don't want to bring his name up because I feel like it's a bad smell around the football club, but there was also that talk, if you remember 2019 particularly, that Teague was putting a lot of pressure on, hence the fallout with Cripps' agent, that the fitness department was saying one thing about Cripps. Teague was adamant he had to play. Cripps wasn't in another direction and being honest about it. Everyone blew up. So maybe there's a bit more unison. It's funny, Cripps kept saying cohesion about 220 times, communication. I think that's probably the big change. Maybe people are just being honest about where they are, and they're actually saying he ain't fit to play. I'm not fit to play. Okay, we won't play him. I'd say that's probably the biggest thing that's changed. No one's taking shortcuts. People are actually thinking, you know what, long term, greater good.
Yeah. No. Very good. All right. So next up is the giveaway. So literally in 7 days from this very moment, we're going to be having our last BA show for the year. We'll have a lot more to talk about. I guess we'll have the open training session notes to talk about. But we're going to be spinning the wheel and we're going to be giving away a nice prize. Actually, we're giving away 2 prizes, if I can get them up here. So next week, on the left, you'll see Corey Durden's signed Guernsey from 2023. On the right, you will see the 90s bomber jacket, the retro bomber jacket. So what we're going to do is we're going to spin the wheel twice to enter the raffle. You just got to buy a ticket. That's all it is. If you're on YouTube, you will see the link to this in the description, in the live chat at the top. If you're on Facebook, there's your link right now in the chat. $17 gets you 2 spins. The first spin will give away the Corey Durden Guernsey. It's actually signed on both sides, front and the back. And then the second spin will be this bad boy here. I don't know if I put people's numbers down on the website. If I did, I'll give you a call live on the show. Otherwise, just make sure that you're watching at 7:30. I would like the person who wins to be watching. So if you are going to buy a ticket, try your very best to actually be here when you win the prize, because I think it'll just add to the whole scene of it all. So that's that.
Can we
now,
just see the advert again?
Yeah, you want to see it?
Fuck me. The effort and dedication into these adverts. Look at that. That is it's a fucking work of art, that, Terry.
Is it?
Look at that. That's sick. Hey, that impressed me. Not often. Not much impresses me in my old age.
You are a hard man to impress. That's very true.
That did.
I find that oftentimes I tell you I do something and you're like, oh, God.
It depends. It depends what you tell me. It depends what you tell me.
All right. So we'll get stuck into a couple of previews. We're going to finish a little bit before 8 o'clock so you guys and girls can be ready for the Jordan Russell interview. We'll start with one of your favorites, Pommy. I'll play some highlights to get you in the mood.
With this halftime lead, the Navy Blues won in round 1 for 10 years. This is the link-up footy we know so well. The Tigers bolt to Williams at the back. Oscar McDonald, they just
The needle, Keys. Mark will be paid. Travel the required, and Williams takes it.
Great mark.
Or Richelli came in from behind as well. To Williams, to the goal square.
Williams. Stocker just on the ground. Mark. Elliott. Low ball. Carlton defend. Williams. They can go. Elliott to try and sweep it on out the back to McCreary. Williams is.
When we do our player ratings, we talk about the daring kick, the degree of difficulty kick. And that is the theme of when I watched his highlights from 2022, because that's what we have of him. That was the theme of what I see. He may not be, his numbers per se may not be at the upper echelon with kicking efficiency. But one thing I've learned doing that show with you is it's the degree of difficulty in the kick that you're willing to take on. And he would have been extremely handy when we were playing that real safe style. So how do you see Zack fitting into this dynamic?
Oh, Zacky is just he's a walk-up start in that team.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, doesn't matter who your favourite player is. I don't care. He is better than your favourite player down the back. Quite comprehensively as well, because he offers something that no one else does. And you look at that 2022 year as well, do you know what I mean? Like 74% kicking efficiency. Do you know what I mean? With the meters gained, the difficulty of what he does. I mean, you look in the dictionary of unadulterated filth. Zack Williams is unadulterated filth. We haven't got Zack Williams. You combine Sard's pace, you've got another guy there, especially when you've got Doc in the midfield. Tell you what, he's what you like about Jordan Boyd, he can do better. What we like about Pom Cotter, he can do better. He's one man, and he will stay fit. Let's hope he stays fit. He plays 20 plus games next year. Transition dream. Can't wait to see Zacky back.
He is transition dream. That clip that was in that little package there, kicking over the top to Charlie Curnow, I really think that's the prototype of what he's going to be able to do for us in, let's say, in a season, at least 12 to 15 times in a season, and set up a goal directly from that exact play. That's how I see it happening. I'm not really looking at him for 30 touches. I don't think I'm looking from many people anymore. I don't look at him like that anymore, which might help, because I believe prior to his latest injury, I think I probably had more expectation on him because the team around him wasn't as good. The team around him's a lot better now.
Yeah, I mean, I think two of the major holes we have is probably high half forward. There's a lack of creativity outside of Jack Martin consistently, and we probably need that. I'd also say back half of the ground. We need that point of difference. You've got Sard with his running patterns. We know how good that is. Williams can do similar, but he's also got that. He's got that vision. That's another string to our bow. It makes us a lot harder to attack because we were so good at counter punching. It's probably that lack of point of difference at times. We could resist a lot of inside 50s, one of the top sides in the comp. So I think you think the ball in Williams' hand, Sard's hand. Nick Newman improved that facet of his game as well. It needs to be noted. Oh, that could be dangerous, do you know what I mean? And I love a little bit of Z-Will, and let's hope he kills it. Let's hope he kills it. Can't wait to see Z-Will round 0, whatever it's called.
Speaking of someone who's going to kill it, well, I think all these guys will, but we'll go Harry next. Let's have a look at some Harry clips from the year.
McKay for company, did that well. Doherty, what about this story?
Target in front was Martin, the handball over the top. Here's McKay, shuffled it out to Curnow, dribble along the ground. They've got 2 in 2 minutes, the Blues. The MCG's erupted. And the tidy up to Sard, bangs it on the boot. McKay in front, juggling Mark, got it.
Oh, McKay superb, and read it brilliantly. Good. To keep an eye on McGovern, sends it long and high. McInerney underneath it. McKay, and that. Penny for Harry's thoughts.
Being forced to defend long periods of time. McKay with the big finish in front of his home crowd. Down there in the pocket. And what a start, all off the back of being able to control the tempo of the game.
It's redemption, Harry. It's the first of its kind. It's bounce back, Harry. It's dipped in confidence, lost his confidence a bit in front of the sticks. I don't think he dipped too much around the ground at all, to be honest. I don't think his marking ability dipped at all. Maybe his shots on goal in that first half of the season. But I really am excited for what another preseason will do for him. He's entering season 9. Crazy. What are your thoughts on Harry?
I think it's an interesting one with Harry. I mean, he obviously had a real big anomaly this year, a big anomaly. And I think what people forget about football and about sport is it's one of the few things in life, nothing's linear. And I always look at 2020 Jeremy Cameron might be a good little model for Harry to look at. And in 2020, he went from 46, 76 to 24 goals, did Jeremy Cameron. And there was a huge talk that he'd lost it. He'd lost it was a big thing. The media saying maybe this is the end of Cameron. He didn't look particularly good. He had a few niggles. And he does talk about it when he moved to Geelong, that year made him better because he wasn't impacting on the goals. He'd worked out how to impact in other ways, and he felt like he was a better footballer for that. And Harry's never been accurate. Like, his best years are around 50%. This year was a big anomaly. It went down to 36. Sleep on him at your peril, though, because I feel like you saw that Sydney game. He wasn't exactly potent there, but he had the presence of mind to take the contact, handball off. Charlie did. It's probably made him a better rounded footballer that year of struggle. And I'll tell you what, there won't be any backline in the AFL comp thinking, oh, Harry's going to be shit. The mindset will be, let's not be the game that Harry finds his form. And they'll still fear him. And I feel like he's going to surprise us because he threatened. He threatened to do it. And I feel like it's our job that we know the media are going to get on his back.
Yep.
And listen to Captain Cripps. We need the cohesion of the support and behind. Don't want to hear anyone when he misses a shot round 0. Oh, Harry can't kick. I want people to be like, Harry will kick. It's just one shot closer to his next goal.
I'm glad you said it. Joe said the same thing. And we reflected on, the start of the season. And I think we as the supporters were feeling this maybe lingering frustration from the year before and how it ended. The players, I don't know if this is a fact or not. Maybe they'll talk about it in some time, but maybe there were some lingering effects of 2022 in 2023. I don't know. And then I think there was just this melting pot of frustration, and we were taking it out really on the group. The frustration of losses started piling up. Harry was missing. The groans were there. And Joe said it. You mentioned it just there. Like, he's going to miss some shots on goal early in the season last year. And I think the hope is that because we've been, I don't know if validated is the phrase, but because we've seen them do something and we've got some, core memories unlocked in our experience now, we won't be so petulant, so easy to get frustrated the way we were this season.
Yeah, I mean, there's people paid an awful lot of money to tell Harry he's shit in the media. They'll write the articles. So for Harry, he's just got to stick to what he does. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm sure if Charlie Curnow was on this and we'd said, would you rather not have Harry in the side and you do it all on your own, or have Harry there? I'm sure Charlie's going to say, give me Harry. Do you know what I mean? Give me 30% kicking at goal Harry over any other player that we've got on the list, because his size, his ability to mark didn't depreciate. It was just the goal kicking. And you know what? that comes confidence. Do you know what I mean? That'll come, and you know what? There'll be a game next year that Harry tears it up, and you know what? I feel sorry for the full backs and centre half backs, because that's a guy who's going to go out there this year with a bit of a point to prove.
Yeah, he does. He has this element, because every year in his career, from the moment he debuted in 2017 against the Lions, every year there was never a question about him. Oh, he's on the right track. He's on the right track. It was always an improvement from the year before. Yeah, okay, maybe this year you can talk about a stagnation from a goal point of view. So it's a bounce back year, and they are dangerous years for opponents. I think with this, you can sort of see the narrative they're starting to try and build with Charlie now. David King earlier this week talking about how the season doesn't matter for Charlie. This is where I think Harry and Charlie help each other. If one of them's getting criticised, the other one is the one that steps in to help them.
David King with his intelligent analysis, as always. Hey, do you know what I mean? I mean, I wouldn't trust that guy to write me my shopping list. So, do you know what I mean? David King can do what David King does. Do you know what I mean? Stick to having 6-figure fucking salary and talking absolute shite. Absolute shite.
That might be one of your best ones. I wouldn't trust that guy to write my shopping list.
Do you know what I mean? God, and it's quite easy to write a POM shopping list. It's just pastry and gravy.
Yeah, it's not hard. So that's Harry. That's Harry. We'll move on to TDK.
Walsh stripped of it by Wicks, and that's holding the ball. As the long option, De Koning's there as well. Good mark, young man. Newman, De Koning. Fogarty was good, and now here comes De Koning. He's got McKay out the back in a one-on-one. Big Harry.
Football in the next 3, you would think. Thus the ball goes wide. De Koning to
Newman. De Koning, lovely ball. De Koning, the long player. Outsized is Bowie. Always going to be De Koning. Carlton, De Koning. It looks good. There's their first.
all way down. And a nice finish. Beautiful finish by the big man, and his left leg just drew it back beautifully. I agree. In comes De Koning for a second straight. Got it. And that really lifts the Blues fans out of their seat.
Just being on the move, someone that athletic, you're cautious as a defender to let him run and jump at the ball. But he's got two opportunities.
Carefully to ground. Rivers. Hit a net almost in the end. De Koning with a clever handball. Bowie's got to make this work.
I tell you what, seeing him mark the ball around the ground, it's unfair if he gets on top of that, starts averaging, 4 or 5 marks a game.
You talked about growth earlier with Cripps and stuff, and if anyone really personifies Carlton season, it's probably TDK. Because up till the bye, aside from that North Melbourne game where, let's be honest, I'm pretty sure we could have found 22 people in the chat to beat North Melbourne at the point we did. He really went from, he was the personification of this team from a lot of potential. We always talk about potential, could be, maybe will be. He's suddenly becoming. He became, and from that bye, particularly in the lead up to the finals when it got tight, that guy showed potential and became potential. And particularly that Melbourne game was sensational, which a lot of them highlights were. But there was the Port Adelaide game, which I thought he was very good. The GWS game, the Eagles game, Gold Coast, Geelong, Richmond, Melbourne, St Kilda in the back half, the Sydney game, Melbourne twice. He really did start to fulfill that potential. And towards the end, probably at the start of the year, Pitternet was the best ruckman. Towards the end now, he's numero uno, isn't he? And going into this year, he probably benefited from Harry being lackluster at times and probably benefited from Curnow in the finals been lackluster because he put his hand up and said, you know what, boys, I can do it too. And that's really exciting because I think it was Bugs Bell who said it. Charlie, Harry and TDK, if all three of them can be on fire at the same point, not many backlines that can stop that, not many teams that can stop that because all three, mobile, good in the air, positive signs. So I'm looking forward to seeing TDK this year. I think he's going to be really exciting.
Yeah. It's exciting to be at that point of conversation with him where it's no longer, when the body feels out, when he's not as lanky. He's no longer, the skinny young ruckman. He's still young and he still will maybe fill out a little bit more. But I think the bulk of that has now happened. He's now got a body that's ready to compete for a lot longer than what it ever has. And you add the fact that he's got this raging athleticism. What is the actual ceiling of him? Like, what do you think the best season of a Tom De Koning would look like?
I think this year he's got to look, and I don't want to put too much pressure on him or fill people with too much hope, but he's got to look at where Tim English was. So Tim English 3 years ago, they brought in Stephen Martin. There was all that talk he's not big enough to compete. The ruckmen are too physical. He had Stephen Martin for a year or so. Then towards the end of Stephen Martin's career, he basically retired Stephen Martin. And you look at Tim English now, most sought after, they say he's the most valuable ruck in the competition. He's got to say, you know what, I can do that. I can do that. I can be that man. I can be, we're looking for the next, like in soccer, we're always looking to replace Ronaldo and Messi. Same with AFL, we're looking to replace Grundy and Gorn. They're not going to be around forever. He's going to be like, you know what, I've beaten English. I've beaten Gorn. Why not be in the top 5? Let's have that conversation. So he knows what he's got to do. He wants to make that game where he destroyed Port and destroyed Melbourne, not one game, every game. And I think this time next year, people are going to start taking note of him, and let's see how he does it. Because I thought he thought his way out very well last year. Towards the end of the year, he thought his way out of it, which is very good.
If he reaches Tim English levels, we're talking about a 5-peat,
mate. And get the support around him. He's got the midfield.
Yeah.
He's got the midfield. There's no excuse. And he's done it now. He's done it in the biggest stage. Let's lose David King's logic. It doesn't matter what you do in season. It's what you do in finals. So if David King's right, he could be the next Dean Cox then, based on that theory.
All right. Well, that's Tom. We'll finish up with Sam Walsh, and then we'll bid you all farewell.
Trying to mark the footy, hadn't, and now it's with Jordan. He can't find.
Gorn goes back again. Walsh with the tackle. Back to Kennedy. Kennedy to Walsh. Walsh with the right foot banana. They've hit the front, the Blues.
Richard, we've spoken about the crowd. Listen to the crowd here.
Hewitt came through well. Walsh has been unbelievable. Flying shot, and he gets it. Scores tie.
In your forward 50, but also got to turn your head. Walsh is always in the corridor side, working his backside off to get down and give a second option.
Third goal from centre bounce tonight. So how important. 2 goals in about 30 seconds in the first final. Walsh.
Fletcher, so impressive he's been. That one not where he wanted it to end up as Walsh.
Standing ahead. Cloud.
Tried to draw her and it wasn't far off. They're going to go inside 50.
Spot. Andrews knocks it away. Bounces past McCluggage into the hands of Walsh. No easy. The football. A chance for Charlie Curnow. Handball is good. Walsh. Humans handball to Cripps. Now to Walsh. And this is where it's become a bit of a problem.
You can hook those 2 Melbourne goals into my veins on repeat. It's unbelievable how they never get old.
Yeah, I mean, I think the great thing about Walsh is we missed him for parts of the season.
Yeah,
didn't have the full pre-season, and he still did what he did when the season was ending. Shows you just the character of him. The big thing for Walsh, and no one talks about it, and I know Ken Corns, I think half of it's banter when he talks about Rosie's better. I also think half of it is Ken Con's inability to sit back and see the bigger picture. And I think Rosie, he's a bit of a final third stat padder, is Rosie, where Walsh, I think, has to do a lot harder job. And I think you saw the back half of the year when he came back, particularly in the finals, Walsh owning who he is. Walsh ain't going to be the flash in the pan player. Walsh is the churner, the gears in that cog. And you saw most of them highlights. He's taking the ball in an awkward place, getting the game going forward, and he really owned that role and stood out, particularly that Brisbane game, which we lost, the Melbourne game. You saw he was willing to take the ball where most players don't want it, take the time, be in the pressure, hit the target, get the game going. And Walsh became the cog. And I think that's important. He's no longer the young great white hope. He's now, I'm the big cog. I'm the big cog in this midfield. And he's owned that role. When long may it continue. And that Melbourne game really showed what happened. When Walsh gets on a game, he imprints it and he makes the game his. And that is a very special talent. And great to see. We love Sammy Walsh, and long season, long pre-season. If he's around with Chera, that is no bias, no bollocks. TDK, Cripps, Walsh, Chera, best midfield in the competition. Fact. Yeah. On paper, on grass, this reality, your reality, whatever reality. That is the best midfield group on the comp.
Facts, mate. Ur with 100 says Sam Walsh, 3 votes. Get used to it. Thank you, Ur. Can he win a Brownlow in a Carlton team that has Cripps, Chera, Curnow, these types? Are we now entering a phase where it's just going to be hard to win a Brownlow from this team because of the profile of the list? Because I feel like for Walsh to win a Brownlow, he would need to maybe kick 20 goals in a season. Because
I think Neil is the great example, isn't he? That I think Walsh has that game that stands out. You look at the umpires, how they vote. I think Walsh is one of them guys that you kind of remember 35 touches, which is my argument with Neil. Like, Neil doesn't have to have 30 touches. He can have 18 and pole 3. So can Walsh. You notice them. Do you know what I mean? Some guys like Jackson McRae, no disrespect to him, 45 touches, and I can't remember seeing him. Do you know what I mean? But Walsh, you saw all them touches. He takes it in the places you don't want, and he makes something happen. So 100% he can do. Do I care if he wins a Brownlow? Couldn't give a Scooby. I'd rather give him a flag. But
that's the other thing. Yeah.
100% he can do. And you know what? I'm going to be intrigued next year. Sam, do you know what I mean? Sam, Cripps. I think Cripps will have a big year. I think pre-season, they've all learned what they've done. They've all learned what that can be achieved. They now go into this season without maybe. They know they've done it. They know they belong. And that's scary. That belief of, can we, to we've done it. There's nothing really more to achieve other than actually winning the big thing now. They've had them nights, Friday night at the G, 100,000 people. It's not a myth anymore. I'd be very concerned because I think these boys are coming out to do what they want to do. Do you know what I mean? And that's going to be dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, best midfield in the league. It's not even close.
Yeah. Wowdy was asking, what do you make of the back injury rearing its ugly head for Walsh late in the year? Well, it was a tough one because if you look at the context of this season, no preseason, came back against the Crows, didn't look the same, took a while to get back into the swing of his best. Team wasn't playing well, granted. Then does the hamstring against the Eagles after he looked like he had really clicked himself into gear. I'm hoping that the preseason and how they manage it and how he manages the preseason will set him up for the end of the year. But the reality is he's had back surgery. That's a reality, and that's something that got to be mindful of with him. And he's also someone that trains really, really hard. Like he's super. They all train hard, but Walsh, he's just known for being a Kobe Bryant-esque type trainer. So I don't know what to make of it other than you trust the people that are dealing with it to get it right and make sure that he's primed for a run at the end of the season.
Genuinely, I'll look back and he played large amounts of midfield time, round 8 to round 13, where, let's be honest, I don't think I've seen that many contested possessions from a midfield for so little meters gained. And I don't 100% believe that at the start of the season he was fit to return. So he kind of glossed his way to a few cheap wins when we were working incredibly hard for them, and then came through that horror patch where, let's be honest, some of them games, Essendon's midfield, that round 13 game, their midfield is dog shit. And Walsh was probably on his own versus 18 Essendon players. I'd love to know what sustainability and what management they needed to do with that they couldn't do, particularly that Melbourne game where we got run ragged. He didn't look himself. He looked very lackluster and very beaten up. Viney was taking to him. Oliver took to him. You can see it wasn't a cohesive midfield. But then it's interesting. He did his hammy, like you say, against the Eagles. The GWS game, I think, was his first game back, wasn't it? And people were saying it was a bit too early. He looked a bit rusty, but he still was brilliant. But I'll tell you what, if he was playing injured round 25, 26, 27, let's keep him injured.
Yeah, true.
Because he never needs to be 100% if he can do that. And I think that's testimony to, you've got to remember, a lot of these players, Cripps, his career has been plagued by our team being dog shit, being overrun, and everyone getting hurt. And I think them 6 rounds I mentioned, round 8 to 12 particularly, that midfield just got peppered, man. No one was helping. And I'd love to see what that did to his long term. And I'd love to have Russell here and say, how much did that fuck them Brisbane? Because there was a point in that Brisbane game, it looked like everything had gone. Everything had died. Energy had died. I wonder how many of them players, it was them period where they had no rest. They worked hard and got battered.
Well, I have to wait and see. I just want to make sure he's healthy at the right time of year. That's all that matters. He's a proven game winner, and we're such a better midfield with him in there. So that is Sam Walsh. That's our show. That's it. Pommy, you going to be at training on Saturday?
I will be, Terry. I'll be sat next to you.
If you're not, the first question everyone asks me when I meet someone is, "Where's Pommy?" So,
well, I mean, I've promised Whizzer, Big Billy, I'll give him a Christmas cuddle.
Okay.
So I've got to go down and give Billy Wilson a cuddle and tell him not to be a dickhead over Christmas.
Yeah. Well, it's 9. I believe the gates open at 9, and I believe the training starts at 9:30. So Saturday morning, we'll be there. I think it's going to be packed. I think it's going to be a good vibe around the place. School holidays as well. So we'll get down there. There was something else I needed to mention. Oh, the Besties. Besties are doing a giveaway. They're giving away 2 jumpers. So if you're on Instagram, go and check them out. They'll also be running around at training. I'll be there. Pommy will be there. Everyone will be there. Good way to say farewell to the year that has been, and a great way to enter 2024. Stay tuned. My chat with Jordan Russell is about to go live at 8 p.m. sharp. So we're going to end this stream. Stick around, hit the channel, and some really interesting insights from Jordan Russell about his philosophy. And I tried to get deep with him as I usually do, and I'll let you guys be the judge of the video. So anyway, Pommy,
why are defenders teaching forwards?
I did not ask him why defenders are teaching forwards. But,
disgrace.
Yeah. Maybe you can ask him. All right, mate. Have a good night.
See you, everyone.
See you guys.